Once again, Cathar Love, number 72. Are you a once burnt, reincarnated Cathar? I wonder. I certainly am. My partner, my ex-wife, my good friend Jim, Gulyam, and a number of others, Jenny, some have arrived, some have departed, but these are certainly Cathars that have arrived and been reincarnated in this contemporary times. I used to go to a woman named Susie. She's half Maori, half Norwegian, and for 9 generations in New Zealand, it's a Maori custom that each child of that particular family will be clairaudient, clairvoyant. They'll see the dead. And Susie was telling me that she was a kid and she'd see these dead people here and there, and she just grew up and she thought everybody saw dead people. But she was given that gift, and it's one person in the family, and in her own family there's one person already. Now, I've been to so many charlatans, and look, I've spent a lot of money looking for my guide, trying to get information, and 99% of them, 99.999% of them were a joke. But it didn't matter. Then I found a few. Fiona McCallum, who was brilliant. She's unfortunately died about 5 or 6 years ago. And Susie. Susie's still around, but unfortunately she's moved to another area and difficult to contact. But I saw her probably over a 12-year period on about 4 different, possibly 5 different occasions. And on the first occasion, my parents and my guide, Brad de Montségur, was there. And I've been gaining various instructions from these people over the years, and even things down, get your neck attended to, or watch your back, or get a new computer, you're running out. And so mundane stuff like that, I've had this advice. And why I'm saying this is because I've been taking down from those interviews over the years some of the instructions and some of the things that they've said, which I feel is pertinent to everybody and which we can all learn something from. And this is in reference to the Cathars 700 years ago, all Cathars, but probably more specifically those who were burnt, those 220 odd who were burnt at the massacre of Montségur, and the 3rd of March 1244, 16th of March 1244. My God, one should remember when one was burnt. Anyway, the thing is there that there's Susie, she hasn't got a clue about Cathars. She says, "Who's this Gulabat? Yeah, Gulabat the Catharism. Yeah, Gulabat. Oh, he's and she describes him. Oh, he's a little bit tubby and looks like a bit like Friar Tuck and Bertrand Marty, and he's very quiet, doesn't say much." But the last time I was there was my friend, my mother and father were always there. My guide Brady was there. Jim Callahan, who died, and who the Cathar Dialogues, the book that he wrote down, everything, these instructions from Henri, and this is where the dialogue came from, the codex. He's there, and but also there, and a number of occasions has been Henri, his guide, but on this occasion there was 2 others which he identified as Gulabat de Castries and Bertrand Marty, and these were the 2 top people for the whole of the Cathars. And what they said was, because Susie said, various things I'm to do, one of the things which I'm doing right now is talking and just spreading the Cathar message. But she said, John's not a young guy. She said, it's a pretty big ask, isn't it? And they replied, this was planned and thought out before ever he was born. Before I was born, my lifetime was was organised. Now, what I'm trying to get from this is that each of us, before we are reincarnated, are given choices. Firstly, we think, I've had a couple of good lives, I'm ready to learn something and have a few hard lessons. You have this particular feeling. And if this is what you really feel, you want a more difficult life, whatever it may be, I want to learn what it's like to have some particular disease or whatever. They give you a series of choices and you can pick out the lifetime. Now, it's like looking at a video and you get the basic idea. So there's an overall lifetime. And within that, there's some specific or a number of purposes that you've come on Earth to attempt to and to evolve to. So, simplifying that, if we're having hard times, but we have this knowledge that we chose this for some specific reason. So, if they're having a hard time, I realise there's some lesson, something we need to know about that, and it might be a lot of pain attached to it, and so forth. So, in many ways, we're not the master of our fate that we think we are. We are impelled and pushed and influenced in so many different ways. The day we're born, astrologically, numerologically, our personality, we have our everlasting personality. Mine, I'm told, I'm the soul of an artist and a man of action. So, okay, I'm happy with that. That's fine with, and I think that pretty much sums me up. Now, one of the things I want to talk about is that when people were burnt at Montségur, and Susie said, "Oh, there's a forest." What she meant was there's a palisade, because when the citadel fell and to the Crusaders, I hope you know the story, and they were given 14 days, which was unusual and lenient. But also the Crusaders, they needed time because they're going to burn 220, and that's a lot of wood and so forth, and a lot of stakes. But in this case, what they decided was to build a palisade, a circular palisade, and add the fire within, and just herd the Cathars into the palisade. Now, Jim, when I first knew him, we used to talk about various things. We didn't really, we were just getting to know each other, my friend, Guliam, who died. But he said when he was young, he constantly had the nightmare of being enclosed in a circle of, in a palisade, and being burnt to death. And so he had that fond memory when he was a child, and he often had a nightmare about that, or he didn't say nightmare, he said he used to dream about that. So on the 16th of March, 1244, they drove them barefoot down the mountain to the field there. It's shown today, and they already had this palisade made up, and it was obviously not just the soldiers and the mercenaries. There was the church, the clergy, the monks, and also the lookers, and some of them were obviously Cathar sympathisers, and they were all looking at the spectacle. And the monks and the priests were with their Te Deums, Deus Vult, God wills it, God wills it. I don't know about it, but there seems to be the fundamentalists of all these religions, whether it's Christian or Jewish or Islam, you've got these fundamentalists, and they're out there doing it for Allah, or doing it for Jehovah, or doing it for God, for Jesus Christ. You know, I mean, what's the point of having a deity or a God if it can't do its own work, and it needs someone who's possibly illiterate, been brainwashed in some religion to do God's work? I mean, it's an insult to their particular deity. But with us, of course, we have the source, and we won't go into that at the moment. But they came down, and they just were the first person to be set into the flames, or he walked into the flames, was Bertram Marty, and he was a slim, and he was wearing the black cassock, he used to wear black, and he just walked into the flames, and they made an example of him. And then from that point onwards, they started pushing the people in, and to the point there's even one woman, she's alive today, and she had 3 children, and those children, possibly I'd say they were screaming for their mother, they just threw them into the fire as well. because on a number of occasions, certainly 2 occasions, she said, oh, they murdered children too. There was children that went into their flames. So, but the thing about it was that there was no screams. I mean, there's roasting flesh. I don't know whether it's like roast beef. I've smelled the flesh on the battlefield, and it's a bit different. And but there was no screams, and this must have been quite unsettling to the onlookers. It's like going to a big opera, and everyone's on the stage, but there's no singing. So it'd be a bit of an anticlimax, I'd imagine, to see 220 burnt, and I'm not saying no one screamed, but virtually no screaming, and apart from the crackling of the flames, it's a fairly silent affair. So this is what happened. But in that 2 weeks that they had, that's so important to what I'm talking about. Are you a burnt, reincarnated Cathar? Because I am getting people. I'm getting people who are saying, look, I've got Cathar experiences. I've had these experiences, and I don't know who to talk to, and people are opening up to me. And others that I know, who I know was a Cathar, one friend of mine, the one who's got the 3 children, no, hasn't got a clue, no feelings about it whatsoever. And I talk about different things, but no, she just cannot pick up on it at all. But anyway, that's the way it is. And of course, not everybody who are reliving or connecting with their past Cathar experiences were burnt or were at Montségur. Some died natural deaths, some were killed by sword or whatever. Others died at the hands of the Inquisition, starved to death in a cell or tortured. So there's a whole range of Cathars, and I'm told they are a lot from the United States, from Europe, but there's also from Morocco, there's also from Australian Aborigines. All these people, they're connecting, and I don't have to go out and stand on a street corner and preach Gnosticism or Catharism, because they've told me, I know in certain terms, things happen by emanation. In other words, it's like a magnet. So iron filings are drawn towards a magnet. People in their own good time, their own sweet time, at 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, or whatever age, something will happen whereby some key will be turned, and they'll get a connection somehow, and they'll start to connect again with their Cathar past. So there's no rules, different strokes for different folks. But in that fortnight that they had, they instructed because there were mercenaries, and mercenaries who were their wives and their girlfriends, who decided that they wanted to stay and be burnt with the Cathars. They didn't. They could have left with the rest of the soldiers, taken their arms with them, and gone about their business anywhere. They were given this rite of passage. And even taken their arms, personal arms with them. But there was a number of them. Pons Nabono was certainly one, and his wife. And these people needed instructions on how to, as much as possible, achieve an altered state so that they could withstand the flames. Now, and in that time also, that was the period that I don't know how many of the 220, but certainly myself and a number of others, we decided we wanted to come back in 700 years' time, in this time, this age of information. There are a number of reasons. And this is happening now. One of the things that they impress upon me is there's to be no hierarchy, no popes, no Dalai Lamas. It's like Catharism is like a well of nourishment, a wellspring of nourishment. It's there for anybody and everybody. It's something that anybody and everybody can belong, but nobody can join. And you can't join because it's invisible. There's no churches, there's nothing to destroy. We've been through our period of destruction and annihilation. Not to have many churches. The Cathars worshipped in houses, in the forest, in caves. They didn't require churches. So, and there's no hierarchy, there's nothing to attain, it's purely about you yourself. But it's there, and it's internet, it's happening at the present time. So when I'm dead and gone or whatever, this there, and those that help me, this is there for everybody. It's just there for people to learn, to nourish their mind, body and soul, because it's also about your body. We're not into, there's nothing wrong with a naked woman or a naked man. There's nothing wrong with the human body and all its natural functions. It's a beautiful thing, and gets a bit old, I can attest to that, but it's still a miracle in itself. So this is happening now. And so that's there, and it'll be there hopefully for some time to come. And there's no reason why, if it disappears, other things will have disappeared as well. Now, one other thing. There's various ways of dying, and certainly being burnt to death must be one of the most horrific. But just let's analyse this a little bit. They know from people with Fire Brigade and all the studies that they've done, and I've seen some of these studies, and it's on that wonderful thing called internet. And what it is, that the moment the flames hit 140 degrees, and we're in that, and certainly amongst the flames, we die virtually immediately because we have flame inhalation, and what it does is the heat constricts the throat and the lungs, and we're starved of oxygen, and we die of asphyxiation. So and that doesn't take very long to die at all. So there's a lot of people, even the flames, they would have literally within a minute and a half would already they'd be dead from flame inhalation. If it's 3 or 4 or 5 feet away, obviously that's which they used to have burn people that way. They put the firewood outside. That could take up to 4 minutes. But the critical point is, once it hits 140 degrees, you're gone. So that's not so great either. Now there's one other thing, and this is a wonderful thing about death that we need to remember. I'm sure there's not many of us that didn't see people falling in the 9/11, the Twin Towers, and there was people falling. People say they were falling to their death. That's true. That's true. But what actually happens? The soul, the moment that we are going to die. Now, there might be a situation where we're drowning or being tortured or something, but we are going to live. Okay, you'll remember that torture and so forth, or that experience, and obviously you're reliving. But the moment that person's time has come, so we'll take the person from the 9/11. He jumps out of the building. He screams, and he intends to shoot down a crumpled piece on the bottom, and he's going to ride that out in his own mind. But what actually happens the moment that he jumps, and the soul no longer has need of that body, and the soul is gone. So what happens? There's no change in consciousness. You're there. You jump out the building into space, and suddenly there you are, looking at yourself falling to your death, because you have now left that body. It's merely a piece of meat plunging to its destruction. But the consciousness, your soul, your divine spark has left the body, and that's it. So if we're going to die, whether it's in flames or wherever it is, and it's worth remembering, there's a point of, if pain's involved, there's a point in pain, as far as pain is concerned, we become unconscious, or there's a point in that time when the soul realizes this is the end, and you leave the body. So when you see someone dying, that person, the soul may have already left the body, and it's up there, and that person is going through the last stages of gasping and coughing and spluttering and the death rattle and all that, but the soul's well and truly gone, because the soul only is in your body while it has need of your body. The moment your body is done for, the soul leaves. So this is also well worth remembering. And so when you see some people and they're going through this a bit of a violent or the painful situation, you can recall as they're getting to a certain point, the soul will have left. So taking us right back to this Cathars. Many Cathars, not just at Montségur, wish to return because they want to see Catharism entrenched. And my guide said on one of these tapes, and I just forgotten all about it, she said one of the reasons why people took to Catharism was because of its purity. Its purity. Think about that. The Cathars are not into inquisitions, not into torture, not into killing other people. The perfecti, the bonhommes, wouldn't even kill a chook. In fact, they sometimes gave the Cathars a test, and they said, "There's a chook, kill it," and they wouldn't even kill a chook. Now, these are not the credenti, the followers. They can eat what they wanted to, but once they became a perfecti, or a bonhomme, a Cathar clergy, male or female, that was it. They were celibate, did not kill anything, and so forth. There was a purity about it. And this is one of the things that's worth remembering about Catharism, Gnostic Catharism, is its purity. It's there about kindness and helping and people, honour, not morals, ethics more than morals. How you treat a person according to what they need, rather than somebody putting some moral rule out that this man made. We know what a person needs and what we don't need. So there's worldwide, there are people that are finding their connections, and possibly, hopefully, there will be a hastening of this, and from all this there will be a Catharism, a wellspring of nourishment that anybody can belong, but to which nobody can join, for it's invisible, and there's no structures, nothing to sign, and nothing to pay. It's between. Catharism is about it's between you and you, and it's how well you get your life and your actor and your spiritual, mystical, and magical life together. On that, bye for now.